So just as Lindsay began this morning asking a question, I want to ask you a question this morning. When you were growing up, who were your heroes? When you were growing up, who were your heroes? Who were the ones that you looked up to, that you were fascinated by, that maybe you wanted to be like? Think about that for a moment. Now, of course, depending on when you grew up, the answers will be different, depending on what era you grew up in. Perhaps for you, when you think of heroes, you can remember seeing the film of our soldiers returning home from the Second World War and feeling that pride and thinking that these are my heroes as they came home. Maybe for you, it was remembering watching the film and fashion icon of Audrey Hepburn. Or did you grow up saying that your heroes were that mildly popular group from England? I think they were called the Beatles. Maybe that was yours. It could have been that lightsaber-wielding guy named Luke Skywalker, or his sister Leia, as you remember waiting in line for the theater, the line that weaved all through town to get in to watch that. Maybe it was Warren Moon or Terry Fox. Or how about Michael Jordan or Celine Dion? Simone Biles, or maybe for the kids out there, maybe Bluey comes to mind. And then there's the timeless heroes that transcend through the generations for many, such as Mr. Rogers or Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth. Now we have many heroes in our world, and perhaps one of these I named brought up a good memory for you as you grew up. Just as we have heroes in our world, we have heroes in the Church of Christ as well. Men and women we look up to who have played a pivotal role in our faith and continue to this day to be venerated, not worshipped, but venerated in terms of great respect, even to this very day. We celebrate two of these faith giants, faith heroes today. Today in the church is what's known as the Feast of St. Peter and St. Paul. You may have heard of them before. They're a big deal in Christianity, as I was telling the kids. St. Peter, of course, who was one of Jesus' closest friends and becomes the first bishop of Rome. And St. Paul, who was maybe the single greatest missionary in all of history, leading to a massive, widespread growth of the Christian church. Both of these men left us great letters in the New Testament, which have significantly shaped our lives and our faith these past 2,000 years. Sometimes, though, we look at heroes and we can actually become discouraged. I remember growing up, I was in the backyard. We had a little patio and a basketball hoop. And I remember being in the backyard shooting hoops pretending to be MJ, pretending to be Michael Jordan. And I remember thinking, as I kept missing all these shots, I will never be as good as Michael Jordan, let alone be any good at basketball. And getting discouraged about that. I look at heroes of the Bible and of faith and sometimes think the same with them. I will never be as faithful or as committed, do the things that they did, and be who they were. I simply don't measure up. But we can overlook just how human, just like us, these heroes really were. Friends, St. Peter was a mess. He was a mess. He was very temperamental. He was prone to a variety of emotional outbursts. He was completely uneducated, and he flat out denied Jesus, whom he knew and spent all this time with for 3 years, flat out denied him 3 times. St. Paul was arrogant. He had some physical issues. He personally arrested Christian men, women, and children, and he watched approvingly Christians being tortured and executed. These are our heroes. They were human, they were sinful, just like you and me. But the Lord used them. The Lord trusted them. The Lord transformed them. and our faith even today is shaped by them. St. Peter is reinstated by Jesus in our gospel reading. Just as Peter denies Jesus 3 times now he says, "Yes, Lord, you know I love you." He arrives at the place of, "I do love you, Lord, truly, even if it means my death because of it." A couple of weeks ago, we looked at St. Peter stepping into leadership on Pentecost Sunday, and he goes on to lead the Christian church in Rome. St. Paul, if you don't know the story, has a radical encounter with Christ. As he's riding to Damascus to arrest, torture, and execute Christians, Jesus shows up in an incredible, miraculous, transformative way, and St. Paul is never the same from that moment. He is completely transformed. St. Paul goes on to plant, meaning to start, 14 to 21 individual churches, depending on which scholar you read. This is before air travel, this is before rail, this is before cars, this is before the internet. On foot, starts 14 to 21 individual churches. It's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Most pastors don't even get that close to being a church planter in that way in today's day and age. As I think about these two men, I can almost hear these two heroes speaking to each one of us, saying, "Look at us. If God can use us and our story, He can use anyone. Look at how He changed our lives." As we think about that, let us then follow their example. May it be said of us, as it was in our reading in Timothy today, that we are poured out as an offering. That even in our messiness, in our brokenness, and in our utter humanity, that we live this life for Jesus and seek to do all of what He asks us to do as faithfully as we can. It may be said of us that we walk out the Great Commission in Matthew 28 to go and make disciples of all nations. Therefore, as you go, which means in the Greek, therefore, as you are going to the grocery store, as you're going to Tim Hortons, as you're meeting with your friends, as you're at school, as you're in your sports team, whatever it is, as you are going about the life that you are living, that God has called you to live, go and make disciples. May we truly, in our circumstance, live to be men and women for others. I remember this song that came out a while ago by a band named Third Day, and part of the song said this: "And who am I that you should suffer your very life to set me free? The only thing that I can give you is the life you gave to me. This is my offering, dear Lord. This is my offering to you, God. I will give you my life, for it's all I have to give, because you gave your life for me." In consequence for keeping their faith, St. Peter was crucified upside down. St. Paul was beheaded. To their final breath, they gave their very lives to the one who at one point they denied or whose followers they arrested. They remained faithful and were given the crown of life. They knew that there was a message, a hope that transcends even the worst the world has to throw at us. That message of the good news of Christ crucified. What would it mean for you to give your life to Jesus? What would it mean to truly and honestly live it for Him each and every day? How have you been changed? Or how are you being changed by the transformative power and love of the Lord? I will give you my life, for it's all I have to give, because you gave your life for me. Amen.